It's puck time. December 12th, Thursday, December 12th. And the funny thing is, it's 12-12, and we have 12 games tonight in the NHL. Full slate of games, and we have the legend from Vegas, Dave Cokin. I love doing these shows with Dave Cokin, and of course, Alex Smith, who will be filling in for a few days next week, co-hosting and hosting while I'm away for a few days, taking the wife to the Bahamas. Actually, Punta Cana is where I'm taking her. Bahamas is a trip later next year. Let's bring in the guys. Guys, how's it going? We have a full slate of cards, so I don't want to do what Prez usually does, where he talks for about 15 minutes before he even brings us into the video. How's it going, Alex?
Going good. Prez in Switzerland. You get to go to Punta Cana. I just get to fly home to Chicago in a week, so not as festive of a trip, but still it'll be fun. I love going back home, seeing the family. But we got a big card tonight, like the 12 games on the 12th, and looking forward to breaking it down with you guys.
Dave, how's it going out there?
It's Las Vegas. It's always holiday time out here. 365 days a year.
We have the young kid in Vegas. He was in studio the other day filming some videos. Marco took him out for dinner last night. I think he got to see Fremont Street for the first time ever. Andrew McInnes. He'll be back next week. I'm assuming you probably haven't gotten a chance to see the youngster.
I have not.
No? Okay. He's definitely loving the trip out there. I guess seeing the sports books and getting the in-game action.
He's been cashing tickets out.
Yeah, he's loving it. So, and again, they got him in studio yesterday. So he's sometimes it's that first trip that gets you hooked. So he's gonna want to. He was already sending me messages wanting to know when I'm going back. I'll be there for the Super Bowl. Okay, guys, let's get right into it. I'm going to leave a promo code that's up on the screen, which is 50% off any of the NHL experts up until the All-Star break. You use code NHL half, obviously NHL half, and it gets you half off the cost of any one of the cappers at Sports Memo or Wager Talk for everything up to and including the All-Star game, which is usually just a glorified exhibition where goals are scored. All right, first game we're going to get off to. I'm going to do this in reverse order. I'm throwing you guys a curveball here because the breaking news last night. So we're going to start with the Sharks and Rangers, and Peter DeBoers let go as the coach of the Sharks. I'm a little surprised, but then I'm not surprised, and I think I would have thought that if he was going to be let go, it would have been earlier in the year when they struggled. But then they put together like a 13-game run where they went like 11-2, I believe. But I think it's really the last few games with the Sharks. They went on this 3-game trip to Tampa, Florida, and Nashville, and it just doesn't seem like the team competed at all. They lost 7-1, 5-1, 3-1. When you get outscored 15-3 over 3 games, 3 good teams, but still outscored. And I guess the game prior to that, they also lost to the Hurricanes on the road. So they've lost like 5 straight. Dave, what's your take on this?
Well, they couldn't fire the 2 goalies, so they fired the coach. It doesn't matter to me who's coaching the Sharks. Their goaltending tandem is the worst in the league. The worst in the league, okay? And they're getting old up front. So they're a team that I think the Sharks are either going to have to try and swing a deal for a goalie this year to try and make one last run, or they're going to have to look at things and say we're going to go into a rebuilding phase because they've got some old guys up front. Joe Thornton looks his age. Okay? Yeah. The 2 goalies just aren't very good. I mean, when you get both goalies below 900 save percentages, you got a problem. And they're just not much of a team. So we've seen basically every team that's fired the coach except New Jersey has gone on a little bit of a run. I don't know that it's going to happen with San Jose. they've got a lot of problems.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there, and I didn't give out the line. Right now, it's San Jose is 155, Rangers are plus 135, and the total is 6.5. And before I toss it to Alex there, it's the goaltending thing, and you usually see a team sort of turning it around, after they fire a coach. And it's...
Well, here's the problem. There's no question about this. If your goaltending isn't good and the team doesn't have confidence in the goaltending, it affects all their play. And I don't think there's any question that the Sharks don't have any confidence in their goalies right now.
Yeah, Alex?
And as for tonight, I mean, maybe they get something here, but the Rangers, off a loss, have been very good. And I just can't lay that kind of a price with San Jose, regardless of who's behind the bench.
Yeah, Dave, we've been seeing, like, if you, and we talk about it on the show, and we've seen it over the last, we've seen it most of the season, but over the last few days, is teams returning home off of 3 or 4 game road trips are just not winning at home. Arizona, a good road trip, lost. You had Colorado. It was Calgary that they played, but they came home off a successful road trip and lost, and it was only a 3-game one. And now you've got the Sharks coming home off of 4. I
think it depends on who. I've always felt I don't think you can call that a blanket type of play, or blind play. I mean, it depends who you're playing and who you've got next. The Capitals came off an absolutely phenomenal road trip and had a terrible game against Columbus, one of the weakest teams in the league. They had the Bruins on deck. I mean, that was a dead spot for them. Yeah. And so there's a spot where coming home wasn't such a good thing. But for other teams, to me, every game is individual. I'm not a system guy, so I don't care. I don't really. If you look at the Capitals, in fact, their record prior to the game with Columbus, in their first game home off a trip of 7 or more days, phenomenal.
Yeah,
they had a great record going back several years, but this was a bad spot for them.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think we had talked just before that on that game day where they had come back from a similar trip earlier in the year and absolutely smoked the Sabres 6-1 at home. So it's not always the case. Alex, any thoughts on the Rangers tonight? Are they a live dog?
Well, and I agree, Dave. That's not a blanket, trend that you can follow every team. But historically going back, San Jose is one of those teams that has struggled coming back home off of a trip. And it maybe has something to do with distance, especially look at the fact they were basically in the Southeast going across all the way back home. I wouldn't think if that's exactly it, but they've just been a team that if they're away from San Jose 4, 5, 6 games, that first game home has been more often than not a flat spot. And like you said, it doesn't matter who's behind the bench. When you're getting outscored 25-7 in your last 5 games, you said the issue is the goaltending, and this isn't a Sharks team of old where they could just turn on the Jets and score 5-6 goals night after night. It's like you said, having to worry about, we're going to give up 4 or 5 goals. Can we at least match that on a night in, night out basis? They simply can't. They've only scored at least 1 goal exactly in the last 3 games. I would take a shot here with the Rangers. They lost in LA in their last game, and Jonathan Quick was absolutely sensational in that spot. I had the Rangers in that one, unfortunately. But I think that, like I said, they've been good off of a loss, and they're definitely going to be looking to try and bounce back after a game where they really could have scored 3 or 4 goals. This would be the team to get their offense rolling. 9 straight unders with the Rangers as well, where Sharks have been trending more to an over team, so that'll be something I'll stay away from the total. But I like the Rangers here at the side.
All right,
I would not play the Rangers in this spot because I do think San Jose is going to come with some fire tonight. I just don't want to lay that kind of a price. I had the Kings against the Rangers, by the way, and I think that's the only favorite I've played this week, but I'm on a really big run right now. Really,
you definitely are. Over the last 7 days, over the last 3 days, I'm looking at the 7 on my sheet here. Over the last 3 days, Dave has gone 7-0. We're talking 3-0 in college hoops. Another great start to the college season for you, and 4-0 in NHL, and it's not just a regular 4-0 in NHL. We're talking a plus 160 team, a plus 145, and a plus 130 as 3 of those wins. So 7-0 over 3 days, absolutely phenomenal. And Dave's obviously Dave's going to have Dave puts out his NHL a little later than the rest of us because he likes to obviously get as much information as he can before he puts out a play, and if he's going to put one out, correct?
I want to know and I want to get the morning skate info to say just taking place, which sometimes can shake up a team. Yeah, I mean, there's no rush. The worst that happens is I might lose 10 cents on value. I care about that anyway. I'm just looking to win the game. So I don't have anything up yet for tonight. I'm sure I will later. It's not who's first to the gate. It's about who's first to the finish line. And right now it's going really well.
All right, we're going to switch over to game number 2 on the card. St. Louis Blues at home to the Vegas Golden Knights. The Blues are minus 115. This one's it essentially looks like a pick'em. Vegas minus 105, and the total's at 5.5. I'm going to go to you first, Dave, on this one. The one thing that just surprises me about the Blues is Binnington had an absolutely brutal first period and game against the Leafs, and I thought, they're off to play the Sabres. Let's toss them back in net and get a little bit of redemption there. But they came away with another 5-2 loss in Buffalo.
Yeah, although 2 of those goals, I think, were there 2 empty nets in that game. So Jake Allen was actually pretty good in that game. Allen has gotten back to his previous form. I think he struggled and lost his job last year, and I think mentally might have lost his confidence. But he's been a lot better this year. He looks like the old Jake Allen. Yeah. So I think St. Louis is doing a smart thing by giving him some more playing time and not completely draining Binnington. The Blues, however, a little bit of a slump right now. They've lost a few games in a row. Golden Knights have Fleury back. He was tremendous in his first game back after returning from the death of his dad. Tough spot on the road, though, for the Knights. They're probably going to get St. Louis at their best tonight because the Blues have lost 3 in a row. Yeah. And, we've seen this team. They have a lot of grit and determination. So, actually the line looks a little bit cheap there.
Yeah, I had the Golden Knights against the Hawks in that game on the puck line. I thought as well, they were embarrassed at home against the Rangers. Yeah. That they were probably going to play a much better game, and with Fleury making, getting back on the ice, I really felt bad for Fleury. You could tell when that goal went in with 30 seconds left that he felt absolutely horrible. He wanted to smash his stick. Yeah. You could tell he lifted his stick to smash it against the goalpost and didn't. Alex, thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, that's always tough. Like you said, playing a great game and, that close away from getting a shutout and then letting one in. That was a huge win for Vegas. Like I said, they had lost the last time they played Chicago. That was the first win for Chicago against the Vegas ever. And then on top of that, like you said, the fact that they were embarrassed at home by the Rangers in that 5-0 game. So a good bounce back spot. But like you said, now having to go back on the road against a St. Louis team that's going to be hungry to get a win after losing 3 in a row. They've given up 5 goals in back-to-back games. It's Binnington. I think that's kind of confirmed in net for the Blues. So maybe take a shot with the over here. We could see some goals going both ways, but I'm going to just stay away from this game. It's not going to make my card in any way.
All right. We are going to move over to 2 teams that are one that's playing extremely well and one that is starting to put a few wins together, the Calgary Flames and Toronto Maple Leafs. We've got the Leafs are actually favored in this game. The Leafs are minus 120. The Flames are even money plus 100 at home, and the total right now I'm seeing is 6 with the over shaded to minus 130. Surprised that as well as the Leafs maybe playing. Surprised, the Flames are 6 in a row now. Picked up points in 7 of their last 8, 7-1 with an OT loss to the Pens. I'm going to go to you first, Dave, in this game here. Any thoughts on what we might see tonight?
I'm not going to try and get in Calgary's way right now. They're perfect. Excuse me, perfect since the coaching change, and they're playing good hockey. The flip side is the Leafs have been a different team since the coaching change. They've had a couple of games that weren't so good, but by and large, it's pretty easy to see that they've been a much better team. Toronto's still got some issues. They're not the cleanest team in the defensive zone.
Yeah.
And I said this last year, and they went out and got Muzzin, and it helped. I still think they need another blue liner, a stay-at-home defenseman, if they want to make a serious run come playoff time. And the other problem for them, of course, remains the fact that Freddie Anderson has to play basically every game because they have no backup goalie. I don't know. Tonight, this looks like a good pass to me. I really don't want to. I don't agree with the market, particularly playing the Maple Leafs. But if Calgary's going to have a loss, it might come in this spot. So it's a game I'm going to stay out of. Two hot teams. Could see some scoring tonight.
Yeah, Alex, before I toss it to you, the one thing about when Toronto travels cross country is there's a huge following, obviously, for that team. You watch the games on TV, and like the Vancouver game, and I think you'll see it again tonight. There's just a ton of blue jerseys in those stands. They make a ton of noise. They essentially turn some of these games into home games for the Leafs. Prez called me the day after the Leafs win over the Canucks, and he told me, he goes, that has to be quite possibly the best game he's ever seen the Leafs play or play this season. Now I'm not totally sure that that's the case here. I understand they beat Vancouver. But I don't think Vancouver is in the upper echelon of teams. I said to him, he talked about how all five guys moved up and down the ice together as a unit and just gave Vancouver nothing. I said, well, we need to see them play like that against Tampa and Boston before you convince me that they are a new team.
No, listen, Vancouver's a really good matchup for Toronto because the Canucks you talk about a team that needs to clean up their defensive zone play. It's Vancouver. I think if Vancouver misses the playoffs, which they might do, that's going to be the area. They're leaving their goalies hanging out to dry on too many occasions. So that's a good matchup for Toronto. If they play Vancouver 10 times, they're liable to beat them 9 out of 10 times because they've got better skaters up front, and the Canucks just don't play defense.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think the point I was trying to make to him is, it's all fine and dandy beating teams like the Vancouvers, let's say the Buffaloes, the Detroits, even the Arizonas, but you're going to have to prove you can beat a team like Boston in back-to-backs, teams like Tampa Bay, Washington. Those are the teams that you sort of set your mark against, because those are the teams you're going to face in the playoffs, unless you want to be one and done each and every year in the playoffs. So, Alex, thoughts on this game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I get what Prez is probably saying. They look more like a cohesive unit now than they did at the end of the run with Babcock. Sure. And that's the only thing I got really kind of go on with that. Like you said, they need to show us more stepping up and play at the top tier of the league. As far as this game goes, they're definitely not going to step on Calgary the way they're playing. I was able to got their arms rolling. Okay, can they get a consistent, ball and the puck really well? So I think we're going to see some scoring both ways here.
All right, I got a bit of. I apologize, guys. I got a bit of cracking of the audio there, so I'm not sure how it sounded with you guys, but I got a bit of it. So hopefully. It's just only for a few seconds on here, but we're going to go to the last game of the 4 that we're going to cover, and then we're going to go to our last minute. the aforementioned teams that I just talked about, Tampa and Boston. These are usually good ones. I'm a little surprised that I'm going to go to Dave on this one first. I'm a little surprised that the Bruins are starting Halak in net. He didn't play very well, I think, in that first game against Tampa, allowing 4 goals in that loss. Sorry, not Halak.
No, Rask.
Rask started. That they're starting Rask, and the reason being is I know they've got the Lightning and then they play Florida. I wouldn't mind seeing Halak back to back and then Rask in the second one. But
I don't want Halak 2 games in 2 nights. The Bruins should never play a goalie 2 games in 2 nights with the 2 goalies they have.
It's just, you hate to see him get snake bitten by Tampa twice, I guess is my point. And then you come back with Halak, let's say, in a couple nights. And if Rask struggles, obviously you've got the Kings at home, in 5 days' time. But this is why I'm not a head coach. But Tampa's minus 140, Bruins are plus 120. The total's 6 here, Dave.
The Lightning continue to be overpriced, although they might not be tonight. It's not a good spot for Boston. They're coming out of yet another loss to the Capitals. They're 1-16 in their last 17 against the Capitals. And they outplayed the Caps last night, but they had a defensive blunder, which allowed Oshie to cut through 2 guys and get a goal. And they found a way to lose again in a game where they actually had a territorial advantage. So it's not easy for the Bruins going in without rest and having to face Tampa with some, I would imagine some frustration coming out of last night's game. The Lightning are off a bad game, so that might mean they're due for a good game here. I'm looking for spots to play against Tampa when they're heavy favorites, because this is not the same team as we saw last year. And the Islanders against them the other night, that was the plus 160 in this streak. In fact, that was posted as a free play at Wager Talk, so hope a lot of people jumped on that one. And I'd lead to Tampa tonight, but I do think you're paying a premium because the Bruins played last night. The Bruins just not sharp right now. They've lost 4 in a row. I don't want them, and I don't want Tampa at minus 140. I think the Lightning will win, but you don't have to, the price. You can say that a lot of teams you think you're going to win. Sometimes the price takes you off those games.
Yeah, no, and I get it. And I don't think they played a very good game against the Islanders, but a lot of teams don't. The Islanders can make a good team look bad just in the way they play.
How good is Tampa?
Sorry?
How good is Tampa? I'm not sure.
No.
Look, this is not the same team they were a year ago.
No, not even close.
They've lost a lot of their physicality. And it seems to me that on a somewhat regular basis, no, maybe that's not the right word, not regular basis, but at least on an intermittent basis, they're letting the other team control the pace. The Lightning need to be playing fast. They were the fastest team in the league last year.
Yeah.
They're not the fastest team in the league this year, and I don't know why, because the personnel is largely the same.
No, and I get it, and I know you know this, but a lot of money can be lost betting on teams based on last year and winning the President's Trophy and thinking, I keep waiting for this Tampa team. I keep talking about it. I keep waiting for them to put a string of games together where they just look like last year's team. It doesn't mean I'm betting them each and every night, hoping that's going to happen. The worst thing you can do is bet on anything, hoping something's gonna turn around. Alex, your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's Tampa. We'll see bursts of where they look like their old selves. They'll get 5 or 6 goals in a couple of games, and then all of a sudden, he's been getting the bulk of the starts, and they brought in McElhinney thinking Vasilevsky can get some wins, kind of like Louis Domingue was last year. That hasn't been the case, so I'm sure that has a lot to do with it as well. You don't want him in the second half of the season, and then trying to make this uphill climb against the Torontos and Bostons of the world. But going with this game tonight, I mean, Russ being back in net, he wasn't going to play yesterday in that game with Washington numbers. 11-5. So that's why, like I said, yeah, you don't need to play a lock back to back. It's not that. It's not panic mode yet. You lost 4 in a row. You're better off losing like this right now than in February or March. I think the Bruins will be able to survive this little stretch run right here, but I would take a shot with Tampa and Reagan, getting a better price there at a pick 'em or even money price.
All right, sorry if I cut you off there. We got some audio cutting in and out towards the end of what you were talking about, but he's Alex V. Smith of Sports Memo. Follow him on Twitter as well too. Dave Cokin of Wager Talk. We are going to go into the last minute of sports, last minute of play here, because we've got another 8 games to cover. All right, Dave, I'm going to toss this one at you first. Pittsburgh Penguins minus 170 against the Columbus Blue Jackets plus 150. The total is 6.
Excuse me. Home dominated series, especially when the Penguins are the home team, 21-5 at home against Columbus. Blue Jackets off a big high, upsetting the Capitals on the road. Penguins have revenge here from an earlier loss to Columbus. I would think they will take care of that tonight. Penguins should win the game, but, big price.
Alex?
Yeah, I agree. Penguins should win this one. Maybe look at playing in regulation, minus $1.25. But Penguins, they had that 5-game home win streak snapped in their last game against Montreal. They should be able to bounce back tonight.
All right, Buffalo Sabres coming off that the win against the Blues. They're plus 120. You got the Nashville Predators minus 140. The total is 6. Dave?
Yeah, I was hoping we'd get Carter Hutton tonight because the Sabres have lost his last 9 starts, but it looks like Hutton is now full-blown number 2 goalie, and Ullmark is getting most of the starts. This has been a lopsided series at this site. Nashville has won 8 in a row at Buffalo, and that goes back to, I think, 2009 or 2008 is the last time Nashville lost at Buffalo. Predators have won 2 straight, but against 2 bad teams, the Devils and the Sharks. I think that Nashville was overrated to start the season and remains that way. This is getting a little pricey. I mean, I like the Predators here, but 135, 140 favorite on the road. I don't like that too much. But it is a potential dead spot for the Sabres. They had the 3-game West Coast swing, Canadian West Coast swing, which was pretty good, and came home and beat the Stanley Cup champions. This is kind of a go-against spot, and I think the line does reflect that. The market has pounded the Predators this morning. Between the spot and the history, I just can't disagree with that.
Alex?
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm not going to take either side here, but laying $1.35 with UC Saros, who's 2-5 their last 7, that's something I'm not trying to do either. So it's a clear pass for me. But I agree with you, Dave. Yeah, a bit of a flat spot possibly for Buffalo.
All right, Florida Panthers at home to the New York Islanders, who obviously beat Tampa in that game earlier, 5-1. Panthers are 125. Islanders are plus 105. The total is 6. Dave?
It's a tough game because the Islanders are, the Florida swing with this amount of time between games can be difficult. Team can get relaxed, and they won at Tampa. So this is a bit of a letdown spot, especially against a team they've already beaten twice this season. And the Panthers have been really good off a loss this season. The Islanders, however, on 2 or more days rest are 7-1. So you've got a lot of positives in this game. I would lean Florida, but as of now, with not much conviction, I might look at this game again later on.
Alex?
Yeah, I would take a shot with the under here. We've seen the under for Florida cash in 4 of the last 6. He said it was a 2-1 game against Tampa the other night, and that was a spot where they actually didn't get that first goal with maybe like 90 seconds left in the game. Islanders have been a team trending under all year. We know how they like to shut things down defensively. They've been under 5 of the last 7 on the road, so I lean with the under.
All right. Typically, you would see when teams play back-to-back, you think that there's a good possibility that they could split the games. And that takes us to this Winnipeg Jets-Detroit Red Wings game. Jets won at home, 5-1 over the Wings, and they're in Motown now. Jets are minus 230. Detroit, on a 12-game losing streak, is plus 190, and the total is 6. I can't touch this game, even though Detroit's lost 12 in a row. Dave?
The Red Wings are 2-23 when they score 3 or fewer goals.
Oof.
That's amazing. So, good luck if you want to back the Red Wings. And it's priced so high that I get, if you want to take a shot with the Jets puck line, I guess. But no, this game, I just crossed it off immediately.
Alex?
I'm just going to keep rolling with what I've been doing. I've been playing the team total over against whoever going against Detroit. I cashed it with the 3.5 with the Jets the other game. I'll go right back to it. Over 3.5 minus $1.10 with the
All right. Minnesota, Edmonton. Minnesota at home, laying $1.30. Edmonton plus 110. The total here is 5.5 shaded, slightly to the over at minus 20. Juice I'm seeing right now. Dave?
Tippett has certainly improved the Oilers in terms of giving the team some structure, but actually I think they might be getting a little too defensive oriented. This is still a team where you got to push the puck. And I watched the Kings game over the weekend, which they did win, but man, I mean they let LA hang around in that game. And I know they were coming off a bad game and then they went out and played another bad game last time out. I'm not sure what to make of the Oilers right now. This is a game at a site where they've had a terrible time over the years. Minnesota has really dominated them on home ice. But there's a revenge factor as well. The Oilers were shut out by the Wild the last time they played them. Minnesota figures to be in a bit of regression mode after the long streak of games where they got at least 1 point. And actually, they did get a point last game as they came back and forced overtime against Anaheim before losing the game. I lean Edmonton, but this it really does look like a game that might end up in overtime again. And you actually want to stay away from those games if you can.
Yeah, I think that if this total was at 6, I'd probably lean to the under here. I had Carolina in that game against Edmonton. I just thought, I like the way Carolina's playing right now. I just thought it was a good spot. Alex?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Wild have played quite a few tight games. Like I said, a lot of games going to overtime. I would probably maybe play something small, take a shot with a draw here at plus 285. I wouldn't be shocked to see this one go into OT as well. But the Wild, 7-3 the last 10 at home. Normally, when you see the Wild at home, they're laying a fairly big price. They were a minus 150, 155 the other night. Slight lean with Minnesota, but I would not be shocked to see this one going over.
All right, let's fire through these last 3 real quickly. The Coyotes at home to the Hawks. Coyotes minus 150, Hawks plus 130. The total is 5.5. Dave?
Lead Arizona. Might be a consideration to make my card later on. I like playing teams coming out of Las Vegas. And the Coyotes were pretty bad the other night. One of the worst games they've played all season. We keep mentioning they're better on the road than at home. So you've got the home ice disadvantage, if you will, and there'll be a lot of Chicago fans at the game tonight. But I think Arizona might be the right side here.
Alex?
I like the over here. You got no Calvin DeHaan, no Duncan Keith, no Ollie Mata. This blue line is just completely banged up. I think Crawford's more likely going to be starting again tonight too, possibly. I'm looking at the over with a 5.5. We've been seeing it cash 4 straight overs at home for Arizona and 6 of the last 10 over with the Coyotes.
Hurricanes minus 115 in Vancouver against the Canucks, who are minus 105, total 6. Dave?
This has been a very bad stop for Carolina over the years. I believe Vancouver's 10-1 at home in the series. But from a style matchup, it's a good game for the Hurricanes, who like to dump and chase, fire from every angle, get a lot of shots on goal. And I mentioned it earlier, Vancouver just not tight at all in their defensive zone. So they could be vulnerable against the Hurricanes.
Alex?
Yeah, I completely agree, and I like the over here at 6. We've been seeing Carolina score goals. Vancouver, like I said, letting in goals, letting in a ton of shots in that last game at Toronto. And that Toronto game should have gone over. It wasn't for Frederik Andersen. That could have easily been a 4-2, 4-3 game. So I definitely think we're going to see goals coming in bunches here tonight.
And finally, I'll call it the El Trafico, because it's the LA Kings and the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks are minus 145. Kings are plus 125. Total is 5.5. Shaded, or really juiced on the under, 5.5 at minus 140. Dave?
Yeah, Ducks won at LA. You know the Kings are going to want payback in what is a very good rivalry. Kings can't play on the road, though. So do you want to back them in a road game? I don't know. I'm not interested. I think this is a good stay away.
Alex?
Yeah, complete pass. If anything, we'd be looking at the under. That seems to be the trend with pretty much all LA games, but especially even here against Anaheim.
All right, guys, and to those watching again, the offer, which is going to expire soon, 50% off any one of the NHL experts up until the All-Star break using NHL half. This is a great package to have for a guy like Dave Cokin, because like I said, just the last 3 days, 4-0 NHL, and because he puts his plays up a little later, unless you're checking the site, you may not see them, but if you're...
A lot of games, I don't even promote a lot of games as individual sales because I'm putting them up like an hour or two before game time. So I just enter them as play only, which means all access subscribers, they get the play as soon as it gets posted. But if you're not an all access, you don't get the game.
Yeah, and that was the point I was just about to make, is it goes straight into your email box when you have once he uploads it, you get it, right? So, which is the best way to go sometimes. But anyways, guys, thanks for being on. To you guys yesterday, we got a shitload of comments, which I loved, especially you guys making fun of me for using the word It happens sometimes. I get that stutter problem when I'm looking for the next thought in my head, which takes a while to formulate. Guys, thanks for being on. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow on Puck Time.
Adios. Good luck.